going on, guys? It is the Professor, ready to break down another UFC card for you. UFC 284, Makhachev versus Volkanovski takes place this Saturday evening, and I'm going to be going through the entire card, starting with the early prelims, going through all of the rest of the prelims, up into the main card, finishing the main event, and I'm still going to give you best bets, because that's what I do at 3:30 in the morning. What else could I possibly be doing at 3:30 in the morning? I could be in bed with my lady like she would like, but instead I'm here ready to break down a card and give picks and winners for the people, because that's what I do. I'm for the people. Hopefully she didn't hear that, but let's dive right into it right away here. It's a decent card overall, real quick. Nothing crazy. The main event, I'm honestly not super interested in the main event. Just because it feels like a squash match, but we'll get into that. Not to ruin any best bets or anything like that. But some newcomers, a lot of newcomers, some guys that shouldn't be on here, shouldn't be in the UFC general, but they're on a pay-per-view because that's the UFC. But they'll go ahead and cut a talent like Sadyukub Kakramanov, because that's what they do. That's the UFC. Whatever they do, how they do it, it's what they do. That's the UFC. Anywho, jump right into it to what is now a catch weight, 158-pound catch weight, because Zubaira Tukhugov cannot fucking make weight for the life of him. And he's taking on Elvis Brenner Oliveira, who's probably going to get another opportunity after he takes a loss here. And yes, obviously, my pick there. I'm going to be on the side of Zubaira, although I'm not going to be rooting for him. I mean, this is not the first time he's missed weight. I don't know if something's going on with him personally. He had a nice smile on his face today at the weigh-ins after he missed it by 2.5 pounds. He decided to cut his hair off, too, thinking that was going to just I think when he first thought he was going to miss by a couple of pounds, he thought, hey, let me shave my head and I'll drop 4 pounds off my body. Yeah, okay. So I think he missed it by 2.5. Yeah, he's going to win this fight. I mean, this is a tough fight for Elvis Brenner, who carries a jiu-jitsu background. He's got 11 submissions. 11 of his 13 victories are by submission. Impressive, but I just don't. He's a young prospect. He'll probably get another opportunity. He's taking this fight, I believe. Well, I mean, he'll be taking this fight on, he'll be getting a bigger purse, whatever Zubaira makes these days in the UFC. But yeah, I mean, he's got wins over Ricardo Ramos. He had a very, very boring loss against Hakeem Dawodu. Very, very boring there. He's got wrestling that he doesn't really use. Kind of uses it. He uses it more in great cage control. Doesn't really go for submissions ever. Just more for control. And it's kind of like I don't know if I'd say Muslim Salika. He's like a Magomed Ankalaev, but he's a lightweight or a welterweight or whatever the hell he identifies as. I guess he was going for lightweight this time, but yeah, he's going to be the pick, obvious pick. He's a heavy favorite, I believe. Minus 600. It is what it. Yeah, Tukhugov. That's a pretty simple pick. Tukhugov by decision. He's a low volume striker. So usually with that, unless you're a power puncher, which he's not, you tend to go the distance. And Elvis Brenner, I don't believe, has been. Just checking his little. This is his debut, tough debut, but let's see. Has he been finished? He has not been finished. His 3 losses are by decision. So, and it's been a couple of years since he's lost. He's on a 2-fight winning streak. He's going to take a loss here, but hopefully he wins because Zubaira sucks. Moving on up the card, Shane Young versus good old Blake Builder. Blake ready to build me a parlay because I actually like Blake Builder in this fight this week. I think, and it looks like 7-8% of Tapology are on that too, and that is starting to scare me. I'm starting to get scared by that. I don't like to see when 7-8% of the people. I love the people, which is you listening, the people. I love you. You obviously love me. You wouldn't be listening to this if you wouldn't. Click the like button and subscribe, by the way, if you could. I would greatly appreciate it, just so this shows up on your feed every single time that you log onto YouTube in your account, of course. Blake Builder, yeah, man, he tends to get the shit kicked out of him and then kind of just like Paul Craig's his way to victory after that, or like who's somebody else that does that? Somebody else that I can't think of off the top of my head, but he's kind of like that guy, like Charles Oliveira in a way. It gets dropped, looks like he's about to get finished in some way. Has his, in some kind of sub, and then boom, he's just up, and I think Blake Builder actually hits, Shane Young. What Shane Young is he's a bottom feeder of CKB, City Kickboxing, which is a great gym. He's obviously could kick my ass. He is he's a 13-6 fighter. He's what his record says. Do not believe. I don't know if I should say he shouldn't be the favorite here. It's, he's been around the UFC, and maybe, he's had some time off here. It's been almost 2 years since his last fight against Omar Morales. He's on a 2-fight skid. He obviously needs this victory here, so this could be, back against the walls, and I'm going to go, size up the newcomer and show him what I can do. I just think if Blake Builder gets a hold of him, this can be like Shane Young's like a poor man's Dan Hooker. That's kind of the way to put it. And he just doesn't really do anything impressive. So if you're going to give me a fighter who's, undefeated, 7-0 only, but he had a good fight, a good win on the Contender Series, just pulled the sub, just latched onto the guy's back. Alex Morgan, out of nowhere, just kind of latched onto it as they were in the middle of a striking exchange, and got his victory there. So Blake Builder, I kind of like Blake Builder as the dog here, and maybe building myself a parlay, not to tease best bets going forward. Moving I need to go to bed. I do need to go to bed. I'm talking like a cow now. Moving on up the card, Loma Lukeboom versus Elise Reed. Elise Reed. Yeah, she's not very good. I'll be honest with you. This is very low level strawweight fighting here. This is a low level strawweight card. Strawweight's good, for sure. That's the best of the female weight classes, 100%. I'm probably going to be going Loma here. I did like originally Elise Reed as a dog. Giving that she's plus 250, I never, I would not lay. I'm not advising anybody to lay minus 310 on this lady here, because that's not what we do here. When you watch me, when you listen to me, you know that I do not lay that kind of juice on a female, unless it's Shevchenko or the obvious other one, the Lioness. So I am. This is a dog or pass here in terms of betting, but for me picking, I'm gonna have to be going with good old Loma here. I just think Elise Reed sucks. That's really what it is. She spends more time yelling than she does like fighting. She's very low volume. It's she does like to she does get a little scrappy. She can be a little fun to watch, but I just, Melissa Martinez, I think, was a favorite, and she lost. Elise Reed kind of beat her up all 3 rounds. But then she lost to Sam Hughes. She got finished by Sam Hughes, and Sam Hughes stinks. So, this is ultimate low-level stuff here. Sam Hughes is 7-5. 7-5, coming off a loss to Piera Rodriguez. So, I'm just not going to be picking Elise Reed here, but this would be a dog or pass here for sure. You want to ride the odds there, put it in a parlay, juicy parlay, try to do something there. Maybe you get lucky. Loma's going to be the pick here probably by decision. Moving on up the card, Jack Jenkins and good old Don Shamus. I like these names, Jack Jenkins and Don Shamus. Don Shameless Shamus. I like that, man. I hope Don Shamus gets a victory here. I'm going to be going for Don Shamus, but I think Jack Jenkins is going to get the win here. He got a very good win on the Contender Series. Getting a lot of Contender Series people on these cards lately. A lot of them. They're all coming. This is it was in the summer. It all ended in the summer, so they're all starting to come around right around. We're waiting on the number one, Bo Nickel, to finally show up. He's going to be there on the Miami card, I believe, with Jorge and Izzy. Yeah, this one, I haven't seen a whole lot of either one of them, to be honest with you. So it's gonna be tough to, Don Shainis, I only know him for taking the short notice fight against Sadiq Yusuf. I think Sadiq Yusuf was supposed to fight like uh, Giga Chikadze, however you say his last name. Um, and he got subbed right away in the first round by Sadiq. It was just a mismatch. Sadiq's a ranked guy, and that's why the UFC gave him another opponent. That's why I said what I said about Elvis Brenner. He's going to get another probably opportunity, unless he just gets completely embarrassed and looks like a fool of him, makes a fool of himself. But if he looks okay against Iberia, maybe even goes to, if he goes all 3 rounds like I predicted it was going to go, and he looks okay, he'll get another shot for sure. Because yeah, they reward those short notice guys for those making their debuts. But Don Shainis, Shameless Shanus. I'm going to be picking him just because of the. Actually, I'm not going to be picking him. I think he's going to lose. And I think he's going to get probably finished. Here, this is an explosive Jack Jenkins, so who can beat you kind of anywhere. So I'd say round 2. Hopefully, Don Shanus doesn't steps up and be a hero. He's a hero for us. I like that. Don Shameless Shanus. I can't even say that 3 times. Don Shameless Shanus. Don Shameless Shanus. Don Shameless Shanus. God. Don Shanus. You're going to have to. I'm sorry. JJ's taking you this weekend. Moving on up the card. Francisco Prato versus Jamie Malarkey. Yeah, man, I'm not a big Jamie Malarkey guy at all. To be honest with you, I think he lost to Michael Johnson. I guess it's which knockdown did you find more? I think that's how the judges at least scored it. Which knockdown did you find more impactful? And I guess they found the one that that Jamie Malarkey got on Michael Johnson, which was after Michael Johnson. So maybe that's what it is. They want to see you bounce back, knock your opponent down. Got finished by Jalen Turner right away. Lost to Devontae Smith, decent fighter. I just don't find him very good. Lost to Fares Ziam. Can't even say his name right. I can't say anybody's name right now. Brad Riddell. Beat Kama Worthy. It's not even worthy of anything. And yeah, he's a tough dude. I just think that Francisco Prado, from what I've seen, he looks he can wrestle and he can grapple on the ground. He's a young prodigy. He's only 20 years old. This is going to be, obviously, it's tough because this is a veteran, so kind of a long-time veteran too, Jamie Malarkey. Even though he's only 28, he's still, just getting into the prime of his career. He's been in the UFC. I mean, this is going to be his 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 7th fight in the UFC. Jamie Malarkey, damn, he's already been around that long. Yeah, he is. I mean, this is he's been here for a few years now. So I just think Francisco Prado, from what I've seen, when it comes to these odds, they get me. Vegas gets me. They get me with these juice sometimes. That I think the line came down a little bit. Let's see here what it is right now. Just currently take a check on that. DraftKings, by the way, I always go on DraftKings. I just feel like their lines are better. FanDuel's lines are shit sometimes. Occasionally, there's some fighters, but they're just so afraid to lose over at FanDuel. Some of their lines just don't make sense. But shop for the number. Find your favorite book and pick one. Shop for the best number though. Jamie Malarkey shouldn't be minus 275 over a guy who's 11-0 with, I believe, all 11 finishes, if I'm not mistaken. That let's double check. Yep, all 11 are finishes. I mean, it's a tough kid coming through. He's only 20, obviously, but he could be making rapid improvements every single fight that he has. So this is just an opportunity to take a shot at a pretty big underdog here. I'm going to be riding Francisco Prado because I just don't think Jamie Malarkey's that great. And I think Francisco Prado, I think Malarkey's tough, and I think he'll make it, let's say round 2 here. Moving on, up the card, Cledson Rodriguez for Shannon Ross. Yeah, I mean, this is one of those fights where I really don't get Cledson Rodriguez. He had a split decision loss to CJ Vergara last year. Kind of a boring fight, very boring fight. if I'm remembering that correctly. He had a decision victory on the Contender Series. He's a big heavy favorite here. I don't think he should be this heavy of a favorite here, but Shannon Ross, man, he stinks. I have no idea why he's in the UFC. Guy got finished on the Contender Series last year, and um, and he's on here, and he's not. He's 13. He's 13-6. He's been finished two of his last 3 fights, and somehow is getting a contract to be in the UFC. This could be one of those where Kletzin Rodriguez does finish him and finishes him right away. I mean, he's got, let's see here. Let's just check. Good old Kletzin's got, he's only 7-2. Young fighter, 27. Jamie Malarkey's 28. This guy's a very young 27. And let's see here. I don't know. It's tough to say. I'm not going to be betting on this fight. I haven't even seen a whole lot of tape on either one of these guys. I'm going to go Kletzin Rodriguez probably by submission, and we'll go for round 1 submission. Shannon Ross stinks. Moving on up the card, Joshua Kalibov versus Melsik Baghdasaryan. I think this is a pretty good fight, and it was a pretty good face-off at the weigh-ins today. Joshua Kalibov, I think he's a pretty good fighter. I don't. It's not overly impressive him beating Singwoo Choi, but he looked good. He looked very good in the fight. He looks very good in every fight. He beat Shailene. He had a draw with Charles Jourdain. Lost to Jalen Turner. No shame in that. Let's see here. What round did he make it into in that fight? So yeah, I mean Joshua Kalibov, I just find he's 10-1, and he's got good hands. I feel like he might even have the better hands than Melsik. I don't find Melsik to be very impressive. Jalen Turner round 2, so he made it to round 2 with Jalen Turner, and Jalen Turner's like a foot taller than him. Melsik's good, but I don't know. I just think Joshua Kalibov, this is going to be a good fight. I think it's going to go the distance. I don't think anyone's going to knock out the other. I'd be surprised. I shouldn't say surprised, but I would be a little surprised if there was a massive knockout. I know they're going to be standing, but I think both of these guys got good enough jaws, good enough chins, I should say, and I think they're both very solid strikers. I think this is going to go to the scorecards. It could be a close one, but I think I like Joshua Kalibov here, and I think I like him just edging it out. And by cardio, I think he's got better cardio. I think he's going to outlast. I think you might lose the first round. He might look maybe even a bit overwhelmed in the first round, but I think when the second round starts and he starts coming back, firing more, he's a little low of volume, but I think if he starts throwing more output, he will in the second, and then he'll be a little bit more fresher in the third, and he'll look better, and he'll finish off strong, and he'll get a 29-26 or 28-26, goddamn, 29-28 decision. I can't even fucking talk right now for himself. Moving on up the card to the official main card, correct? Yes, we are fine. We are now on the main card. So that was the feature prelim. Joshua Kalibov, Melsik Baghdasaryan. Got a little selling going on at the face-off, pushing a little push by Melsik to Joshua Kalibov, and Joshua didn't like that. So maybe my decision prop pick would be wrong here. Maybe there's gonna be a first round finish here because they're gonna be pissed off. Moving on to the actual UFC 284 card, we got Tyson Pedro versus Modestas Bukauskas. Yeah, man, Modestas, man, I picked him. I'm still not over him in his last UFC fight. I picked him against Khalil Roundtree, and he got just lit up in the legs. And man, go figure. A kick to the leg, and that was the end of him. Khalil Roundtree is okay, but I mean, lost to Mikhail Oleksiejczuk, split decision. That's not that bad. He's a good fighter. Jim Crute got finished TKO'd by him, and we know what's happened to him. We'll talk about him in a little bit here. I'm going to be on the side of Tyson Pedro here. I believe that Tyson Pedro is going to get another first round finish. I know beating Harry Hunsucker, who gets knocked out by everybody, is not all that impressive. Ike Villanueva is not all that impressive. Losing to Shogun is terrible, but that was 4 years ago. And now that he's heavyweight, I think this is a new version of him, and I think this is going to be a better version of him. And I think Modestus, he might. I wouldn't be, if maybe he's better. He left the regional scene. He left the regional scene or he left the UFC and went to the regional scene, went over the Cage Warriors. But his wins over there just weren't even that impressive. Like he went to a decision with Lee Chadwick, who's 28-16, got Chuck Campbell. He did brutally finish him. That was a big right hook that he landed. And that was, that could be something that he lands on Tyson Pedro. And Tyson Pedro gets knocked out like that. I mean, Shogun just knocked out Tyson Pedro. I shouldn't say just, it was 4 years ago, but still, Shogun was old as hell 4 years ago. He was washed 4 years ago, and Tyson Pedro got knocked out by him. And Modestus, Modestus was supposed to be a decent fighter. He was a decent prospect at one point, and he had respect. He's only 29. Could have been making improvements while he was gone. Beat Andreas Michailidis, who did win a round over Alex Pereira. He's got that under his belt. I wouldn't be going super heavy on Tyson Pedro, but I do like Tyson Pedro. I just feel like Modestus is getting put out again. That's his destiny. He's got a small chin. He's got a pointy chin. Kind of looks like a Nazi. I shouldn't say that. And he just looks like a chin that can just be punched right off of his face. So I think that's what Tyson Pedro is going to do here. Moving on up the cart to a man we were just talking about, Jim Crute versus Alonzo Menifield. Alonzo Menifield, this is going one of two ways. It's got two possibilities for this fight, for the finish of this fight, because it's going to a finish. It's not going to the scorecards in my mind. There's going to be a Jim Crute submission, whether it be the first round or the second round. There's going to be a submission or a third round, but I think I would say, I feel like I would say we're treading more along the early part, because I believe all of his finishes have came in the first round. And let me just double check that. Yes, every single one of Jim Crute's finishes. Oh no, he had a round 3 Kimura over Paul Craig with 9 seconds left in the fight. So other than that, every other fight he gets finished, other than the ones that go to the decision, he's either gotten finished or he's finished in the first round. So Alonzo Menifield, what has he got recently? He's got 3 first-round knockouts in his or submissions in his last 5 fights, and I believe this is going to be another one. And Jim Crute, he's had some time off. He's young still. He's 26. He could be making improvements. He was good. He was showing toughness in the Anthony Smith fight. I thought he looked. He was just overmatched, honestly. Anthony Smith kept spamming him with leg kicks, and then eventually his leg broke, and he started trying to fight through it, but he couldn't. He does have a win over Modestus, knocked him out, so he showed he can do that. He beat Mikhail Oleksiejczuk, and he submitted him. That's the kryptonite of Oleksiejczuk if you can get him down. And you have really good grappling, you can submit him, and that's what he did. He lost to Misha Serkinov, who's I don't believe in the UFC anymore. God, whatever happened to Misha Serkinov? Sam Alvey, Paul Craig. Everyone's got all these random guys got wins over Paul Craig. This is going to be, like I said, one of two ways: Jim Crute by submission or Alonzo Menifield by knockout in the first round. And I believe I'm favoring the side of Alonzo Menifield by knockout in the first round, because I think Jim Crute has taken a lot of damage, and this is just a tough fight for him to come back to. He should have taken an easier fight. Take a guy you could take down easily. You don't have to worry about getting knocked out to oblivion, and submit that guy. Get your confidence back, and then take on a guy like Alonzo Menifield. But not just jump into Alonzo Menifield, who I don't even think is that good. I was about to say great. Not even close to great. I don't even think he's that good. He's just a heavy hitter, but we'll see. Moving on up the card, Justin Tafa versus Parker. Good old pork chops, Parker Porter. Look at those. He is Good old PP, Parker Porter, man. Baldy Porter. I'm sorry. I have so many. You can call him whatever you want to call him. Taking on, man, good Rikishi over here. Taking on Samoa Solo Sakai, Justin Tafa. Yeah, man, all the Samoans, they're big, they're meaty, and they hit very hard. And I don't feel like they feel pain when you hit them back. Parker Porter's old and he's actually very old. He's going to be 38. But heavyweight, it doesn't mean you're washed up when you're 38 at heavyweight. You could be in your prime at 38 in your heavyweight. I think Parker Porter, if he can get Justin Tafa down and continuously, if he can just avoid getting knocked out by Justin Tafa, avoid getting, taking any tough leg kicks that could possibly hinder his stance or hinder his ability to get Tafa down. If he can avoid any of those things, I think he can get this victory here. He's an underdog. He's a slight underdog. I do kind of like Parker Porter in here. I'm not going to bet it because Justin Tafa, I mean, it's Harry Hunsucker. I don't, he just gets paid to lose. So I don't know if you can find that impressive at all. He lost to Jared Van Dier almost 2 years ago. I can't get that out of my head. I still remember that fight. Terrible fight. Can't lose to Jared Van Dier. He absolutely sucks. Carlos Felipe, not great. You lost to him. You beat Juan Adams at your only UFC. I don't know if that's not your only UFC win. You actually been around here for a while. Now that I think about it here, let me think. Let's see here. Justin, I shouldn't say you've been here for a while. You're only 5-3. You couldn't have been here for a while. Let's see. What have you been doing here? Yeah, that's your only victory. Juan Adams in the UFC. Oh, and Harry Hunsucker. Henry. See, I can't even get his name right, and it doesn't really matter. Guy's 7-6. Shouldn't be fighting right now. 34. It's time to retire and find another career. Yeah, that's who Justin Tafa beat. I think if Parker Porter can get him down, he can win. I don't know about a finish. Actually, I don't think a finish, but I guess you never know. Yeah, no, you do know. I know. PP, Parker Porter, he ain't getting a finish here. But he could get a victory. And I would be on the side. I would lean the side of Parker Porter by decision. Moving on up the card, Randy Rude Boy Awakening Brown. That's not his real name. He just goes by Rude Boy. Versus Jack Della Maddalena. Yeah, Jack Della Maddalena, I'm kind of annoyed that he's this big of a favorite. I would have bet him for sure, even on a straight bet, if he was like minus 220, which obviously Vegas knows that. Apparently they know that there's just more of us that exist out there because they have the line jacked up to fucking minus 330, and it just shouldn't be like that. That's disrespectful. Randy Rude Boy's a good fighter. I think he's a very good fighter. He's on a 4-fight winning streak too. He's tall. He's an awkward fighter. That's what it is. He's long. Throws that jab. He's low volume, but he can beat you. If he can get you down, he's got good jiu-jitsu. He's just kind of a good all-around fighter who's also very tall. He's very fucking tall and long for this division. So if he can, maybe he can out-jab you. I wouldn't bet a straight on this. I wouldn't be, I think Jack Della Maddalena is just gonna, lay heavy hands on him. He throws good cross, just good hooks and good. He's just very good at crossing his body and just using his hips, using his legs and his hips. He's very good at that. He doesn't use he's not swinging his arms like a lot of UFC fighters like to do, MMA fighters in general like to do, because they're not boxers in general. They're not strikers. Jack Della Maddalena is a boxer. He's a very good stand-up fighter. 13-2. He's a very good fighter in general overall. He's tough to take down. He has been taken down, but he gets back up. Finished Andy Roberts, Hot Chocolate Roberts in the first round. It's nothing super special, but still he's a decent fighter. Finished Ramazan Ameev. Yeah, can't even talk right now. Finished Ramazan Ameev in the first round. I think that was my debut video for this channel, talking shit about that guy because he's an absolute bore to watch. Pete Rodriguez, that's a very good fighter. I shouldn't say very good fighter, but he's a solid prospect coming up, and he defeated him coming off a win against Mike Jackson. That's not anything to write home about. Yeah, Ange Lusa, I think he just got a big victory recently. So there's a victory over that. I think he beat him in the Contender Series. Yes, he beat him in the Contender Series. So yeah, he just beat AJ Fletcher Angelusa. So Jack Della Maddalena, he's beaten some decent fighters, and I think this is going to be a tough test for him, but I don't think it'll be too tough for him. And I think he's going to get it done. I wouldn't be shocked if he finished Randy Brown by the second round. We'll go second round finish for Jack Della Maddalena. Maybe, you know what? Yeah, we'll go second round finish. Randy Brown doesn't hit hard enough to make Jack Della Maddalena respect him. So unless he can't take him down at will, it's going to be tough for him to. I just can't see Randy Brown out just jabbing Jack Della Maddalena on the feet the entire fight and just doing that, doing Yak Hermanson on Chris Curtis. I just can't see that happening. So we're going to take Jack Della Maddalena. He's a hot new commodity, the next big thing coming out of the welterweight. I shouldn't say the next big ththing. You got guys like Shavkat Rakhmonov still coming through, but he's an unranked guy that's coming through. That's what he is. He's an unranked guy. This could get him up near the rankings or a rankings fight. He'll get a ranked opponent probably. He will get a ranked opponent if he gets this victory here, especially if he gets it in dominant fashion. So Jack Della Maddalena is going to be the pick. Moving on up the card to the co-main event, because that was the feature, right? That was the feature fight of the card. Yeah. Yair Rodriguez versus Josh Emmett. Yeah, listen, Yair Rodriguez, I honestly do not even. I think he's a good fighter. I honestly do. I think he looked very good against Max Holloway, even though he lost to Max Holloway, and he ended up in the hospital after that fight. But a lot of it was because of just his own strikes. There was a lot of erratic, I should say not erratic, but a lot of just wild and unorthodox style strikes. Different angles. Weird spinning kicks. He's very good. He's very good on the stand up. Very quick. He's got a lot more power than you would probably think. He's kind of skinny, but he's more muscular, and I think he hits a lot harder than it looks like he hits. I think I think he could pack a punch a lot harder than it appears his little body could pack. But man, his career just doesn't make sense to me. You look at his last 5 fights. He won on a spinning elbow against Korean Zombie in a fight that he was losing in the final seconds, and finishes him, gets that victory. Okay, fine. Jeremy Stephens, accidental eye gouge, draw, ends up fighting him again, gets a victory. Jeremy Stephens then takes a loss to Max Holloway. Okay, looks solid. Whatever. Respect. Okay, respect, Yair. You looked solid. Okay, Colby Covington looked solid against Usman. All right, you look good, solid against Max Holloway. Congratulations. All right, just because you get a fucking first round, first minute, first 20 seconds of the fight shoulder injury to Brian Ortega does not mean that you just should be you automatically get title shots. I don't even understand how he's in the position to get an interim featherweight championship belt put around his waist. Unfortunately, I think he's going to win this fight. And I shouldn't even say unfortunately, because I don't even hate him. He irks me. His attitude just irks me. I think he's a good fighter. I think he's got underrated jiu-jitsu. I think he knows how to handle this, he can handle himself off his back, but Josh Emmett ain't going to put him on his back, because even though he has good wrestling, he doesn't use it. Josh Emmett, he looked awful at the weigh-ins. He cuts a lot of weight, obviously. It's catching up to him because he's old as shit. He's turning 38. It's tough for a featherweight to be that old. Your chin starts to go, and I think this could be the fight that his chin goes. Yair Rodriguez finishes this man, maybe by round 2. Josh Emmett, I would say, if he could avoid getting finished, and if this were a 5-round fight, he would maybe be my pick, because I could see it playing out like the Calvin Kattar fight with Josh Emmett, where he's getting out jabbed and out struck, but he throws that one big overhand right every 25 seconds, and it lands, and it hurts the opponent a lot more than he's being hurt. And the judges are like, wow, big punch. I know you ate those last 17, but that was a big punch by you. It's like Cheeto Vera, except you're not getting the knockouts. So what the hell? Yair Rodriguez, I don't get why he's in the position he's in. Why does Max Holloway have to fight Arnold Allen and you get to fight Josh Emmett? You know, and no shame on Josh Emmett. No, he's no slouch. He's 18-2. I'm not shitting on him. I'm not dogging him or anything. I mean, it's a big win against Calvin Kattar, even though I don't think he won. But you know what? I don't think Calvin Kattar won either because he didn't really step on the gas. He started getting hurt by those overhands, and he couldn't do anything about it. He didn't get knocked out. He hung in there, but I thought he won. But again, I don't. I also don't care. I don't think either one of them won. I'll put it that way. That's the best way I can put it. Dan 50K Ige, it was okay. They're good victories over these guys, but it's not anything special, Finish Michael Johnson. Okay, that's cool. Mirsad Bektic. All right. Finished him. He's good. And then Shane Burgos, you couldn't finish him. I'm not saying finishes are everything, but I just think he's a little old, a little too old. I think these fights where he was getting these wins, these big wins in. I think these were this was his prime right here. I believe his prime just passed him by. Calvin Kattar, he took a lot of damage in that fight. His eye was fucked up after that fight. And I just think it's asking a lot of him for somebody his age to cut the weight that he cuts. And, he's clearly a thick dude when he walks around, even though he's only 5'6". It's clearly getting to him. Yair Rodriguez is 5'11", but he's slim. He's slender. But it helps him in his striking, helps him in his jiu-jitsu, and I think it's going to help him in this fight here. It's unfortunately. I wouldn't be – Emmett's a dog, plus 150. I believe that's still what he is on DraftKings right now. Wouldn't knock anybody taking a shot at the dog here. Maybe he can get a knockout. Maybe he Calvin Kattar his way to victory, like last time, except in 3 rounds instead of 5 rounds. So he'll have to step on the gas earlier. Moving on to the main card. Alexander Volkanovski, I should say Islam Makhachev, the champion, versus Alexander Volkanovski. Islam's the pick. Moving on to the best bet. All right, I'm kidding. Nah, that should be the breakdown. That's really all I got to say. Honestly, that's really all I got to say because I don't think this fight should be happening. And you know what? Blow up, talk shit in the comments all you want. Come at me on my Twitter. If I'm wrong, I will own up to every word that I say. But believe me when I tell you, I'm 100% fully know. I know for a fact, full-blown fact, Islam Makhachev will not be losing to this motherfucker this weekend. I promise you that. I'm not even an Islam fan. I'm just pissed off that this fight's actually taking place. It should be Islam Makhachev against Beneil Dariush. It should be, give Arman Sarukian the rematch against Islam already. You look damn good against him. Gave him his toughest fight so far. Give him one of those guys. Not fucking featherweight 5'4" Alexander Volkanovski. And I'm not even trying to shit on him. He's great. You know what? I will say this. If he gets this victory, I will call him the GOAT. I'll put him above John Jones. That's where I would put him. That's how impressive this would be. Unless John Jones goes and beats Khan, then he's going to go right back above Alexander Volkanovski. But this task, and that would even be tough because this is, you see these two stand up, and I don't even know how they stand up. 5'6", and Islam is like 5'11", maybe even closer to 6 foot, I think. And we got Volkanovski, who is like 5'6", maybe even 5'5". I would love to see him in person. Islam looks massive compared to Volkanovski. And he's just going to show, just like he said, why there's weight classes. There are weight classes for a reason. Featherweight power is not lightweight power. Volkanovski's not even knocking people out in featherweight. He's not. He did piece up Max Holloway. But Max Holloway's taken a lot of damage, and that's also a featherweight. Korean Zombie, he pieced him up, but that was the weak Korean Zombie. That was a hurt, beat up, old Korean Zombie. Brian Ortega pieced him up. Big win. Almost got finished. And the move, the position that Ortega had Volk in that fight, you switch places with Islam, and Volk's going night-night. Volk is going night-night, or he's tapping. That purple face gets more purple that we see in that picture, in that still shot when he's in that hold. Islam mounts him like that. He's not getting out of it. I promise you that. And I just don't think he's got what it takes to beat a guy like Islam. If you're going to beat Islam Makhachev, you're going to have to be either have out of this world striking and out of this world takedown defense to the point where, and when I say, I shouldn't even say, I take that back. Take that back. I believe the way to beat Islam Makhachev is obviously you got to be able to cancel out his wrestling, but you got to be a heavy hitter. You got to be able to just throw bombs like Michael Chandler-esque, catch the chin bombs. That's how I believe you get Islam Makhachev. Alexander Volkanovski is not going to be able to do that. And because he's not going to be able to do that, there's nothing else he's going to be able to do. He's not going to sit there for 5 rounds to piece up Islam. If Islam wants to play with him for a round and let him have that round and get, and piece him up on the feet, fine. He will. Maybe he doesn't let him, but he's not going to allow that to happen for 5 rounds. He will eventually take him down if he's getting lit up like that on the feet. And I don't believe he's going to. Volk might win the first round, jumping that inside-out game where he comes in, throws a quick combo, gets back out before Islam, can catch him. But I don't know how fast he's going to be, at 155. You would assume his speed would go down a little bit. He's going to be a little thicker, maybe even weighing like in, 160, 165. Come actual fight, maybe tries to put on a few extra pounds because he knows Islam's going to be like 175 because he drains. That's what the Dagestans do. They drain themselves, weight bullies. I just think that he has absolutely no chance, absolutely no shot whatsoever. Trains at a great gym, CKB. He did Tiger Muay Thai. He's a great kickboxer. Kickboxers are never gonna be shit for a Dagestani wrestler like Islam Makhachev. They're not going to have shit for them. It's kind of funny. Volk has longer reach, according to Tapology, or longer reach than Islam. So that could help him. But, I mean, what am I kidding? It couldn't help him. It's not going to help him. And I believe Islam's going to finish this guy. The only reason what's giving me some hesitation is because I saw FanDuel's offering a prop for Islam to get a submission or a finish on Volk, a boost, and I hate when I see that because that usually means something bad. When I like that boost, it usually means it's going to lose. And but and I can't help myself. I can't see Islam lose. I can't see it really going any other way. Round 2, and I believe it's going to be an overhand right to Islam from Islam Makhachev, landing on Alexander Volkanovski and then getting on top and submitting him. I think that's going to be how it goes. And if he doesn't, just like Oliveira, and if he doesn't, it's just ground and pound. He'll ground and pound him. He'll get him in a position that Volkanovski's trying to squirm out like a squeal and can't get out of, and eventually he submits to punches. Moving on. That's not moving on to anything. We're just moving on to the best bets because that's the end of the card to UFC 284. Real quick, we'll go to the best bets. I got Islam money line minus 380. I put 10 units there, and that's not a troll because it's probably what you're going to have to do to win any sort of, return that you would like to have on it. Joshua Kalibau minus 110 money line. I like that. I like Kalibau. I just think it sucks because I believe if you got that number earlier in the week, he was a plus dog. I think he was like plus 130 at one point or plus 120. 2 units on that. I like that a lot. Blake Builder, throw a unit on that, plus 130. I think he can pull off the submission on Shane Young. And then Prado. What the hell is his name? Francisco Prado over Jamie Malarkey. I think money line plus 230. Throw a unit on that. It's too hard to pass up. My parlay, the Professor's parlay. We got a Yair and Josh Emmett to start round 3, minus 360. We've got Jack Della Maddalena and Randy Rude Boy Brown to start round 2, minus 250. We got Islam money line minus 380. We got Joshua Kalibau and Melsik Bagdasarian to start round 3. I believe that fight actually even goes the distance. Minus 225. You put it all together, plus 226. And then, as you can see, the Hail Mary parlay, half a unit on this. I kind of like this. Builder by sub. I think that's honestly the only way that he gets a victory there. Francisco Prado by finish. I believe that's Malarkey's a hard one to put away, but I think Prado can. And then Tyson Pedro by knockout TKO plus 165. I think that's a pretty good bet because Modestus has no chin, and he has shown that to us. He can't take damage, and no matter how much you work on your game, you can't you can't work on your body from taking damage. If you don't have a chin, you don't have a chin. So I think Tyson Pedro finishes him, and plus 5,000, $10 wins you $500. Excuse me, and 27 cents. If I'm no $502.70. God, I gotta get my math right, but it's 4:30 in the fucking morning now. Half unit on that. Those are the best bets. Thank you guys for listening. Click the like button and subscribe. It's the middle of the night and I'm still doing this, but that's what I do. I do this for the people. You guys. I care about the people. Giving you guys winners. Middle of the night. UFC 284. I'm excited. You're excited. I know you're excited. You wouldn't be if you wouldn't be listening to this if you weren't excited. Go on. Get with your friends. Lay some bets, preferably the bets that I gave you, but lay some of your own. Leave some comments of what you think of the pay-per-view, some of your own picks. Let me know what you think of the video. Any comments, questions, or concerns, or if you just want to spread positivity or talk shit, I really don't care. I love interaction. Yeah, that's going to be everything. Till next time, adios, UFC 284. Enjoy it.